So I think it was in the late 90s, maybe early 2000s. You left and went to New York to go work on music.
Yeah.
What was that experience like, and what did you learn while you were there?
Yo, the New York trip for me was very important. Only because, one, I grew up off of New York MCs and music and production and whatnot. So when I got the opportunity to do that, I was basically homeless. I didn't really have no place to stay for real, and it was kind of like one of those things where it was like, well, fuck it, I ain't got nothing else to lose.
Might as well go.
So I might as well go. So when I got there, I flew to Long Island, got on the train, rode to Queens. When I got off the train, there was a guy standing there, and he was like, "Yo, you Woo, ain't you?" Because apparently there wasn't like a lot of Asian and black dudes.
Right.
He was like, "You Woo, ain't you?" I was like, "Yeah." The studio was across the street, and within like 20 minutes, I was working.
And they're getting it in,
right? And so it was just dope, man. Because one, I for once I got out of my city, which I think is a trap for a lot of people and a lot of artists, producers, whatever.
Yeah.
They get stuck in their own city and they don't travel the world. Mm-hmm. So this was a situation where I kind of had no choice but to go, and it opened my eyes to a lot of shit. So I was in the studio working. And the people that I was up there with, shout out to Billy, he was connected to a lot of players. Like, I was in there always linking with Murder Inc. and a lot of labels. He would take me to Def Jam, and it was just, for a kid who had nothing, just going to New York on a whim, and then all of a sudden you getting put in a position where you linking with Def Jam, Murder Inc. And you're seeing these people that you see on TV in real life. It's kind of like surreal, and you got to think, back then we didn't have camera phones.
Yeah, none of that. Right? So you really couldn't capture.
Yeah, so all we had was
the
only thing I could do was go to the bodega, grab a wind up camera, and take pictures. Yeah. You feel me? And that's what I would do, and get the Polaroid joints. But yeah, that shit was very influential on me, man. And
I remember when you came back, you told us a story. I think you had been there for a while. You were in your grind, and you were like, somebody told you like Nas was outside, and you was like, "Yo, I'm in here, I'm working. I can't worry about Nas right now. I'm inside. I'm in here working." I don't know if that's the exact story, but it was something like that.
So what it was, in Queens, right? Where I was at where the studio was at. So in Queens, when I was there, Russell Simmons started the Hip Hop Summit. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was Russell Simmons, but they had the Hip Hop Summit. The first Hip Hop Summit was in Queens. Mm-hmm. So I remember leaving the studio with my boys. We go to this college, and that's where they was having it at. And Nas was the special guest. Okay. So I'm literally maybe 40 feet, 50 feet away from Nas.
Right.
And if you know me and you know how crazy I am over Nas, it was like a surreal moment. I'm like looking at this dude in the flesh. Right? Now, the dude Billy, he knows Russell Simmons personally. So I'm so inspired by seeing Nas. I leave the summer. I'm like, I'm going back to the studio. I'm about to make a banger.
Right.
So I leave the studio. My boy Billy and a couple of my other homies that stayed, they rode a limo back with Russell Simmons. Mm-hmm. Right. So I think what it was is like I think it was more like they was like, yo, they were just telling me how like Russell Simmons or something was outside of something, but I was so focused on I think that's what it was. It was like, yo, Nas, I left the summit where Nas was at, and I was like, I gotta go work.
Gotta go get it in.
I was like, fuck all this. I gotta go work. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
It's crazy. Crazy story about Nas. I remember he came to Louisville Gardens back in the day, way back in the day. I think it was my senior year, like 2001. And my homeboy Lil Bobby, his auntie's boyfriend, they were performing, so we got tickets. Yeah. So me, Cornisha, and a couple other people from school, we all went up there. We met Bobby, and we ended up backstage. And it was crazy. I was walking up the steps, and Nas was coming down the steps, and he had that Q. He had his big QB chain on, and he had a bottle in his hand. He was like, "Yo, I would dap y'all up, but my hands are full." You know what I'm saying? But it was crazy seeing Nas like that, because at the same time, I was a heavy Nas fan too. So that's all I listened to.
You know, something you should point out too. You gotta like point out how important that was to us, because you gotta think, bro. Back then, the only time we would see Nas is like in a magazine.
That's it. And I'm a huge collector of the Source magazine.
I couldn't pull up Instagram.
None of that. So so seeing him in person, that was major. So it's like Nas is here. And also, I think Soleil were there, and I think Do or Die was there too, or something like that. So it was crazy seeing that. So I can remember also when you went to New York, you came back, and it was it a Coca-Cola beat?
Yeah.
What happened to that beat?
You remember
man?
that?
Yeah, come on, man. Yeah, I remember that, man.
Yo, that's
I'm
crazy.
telling you, man. How you gonna ask me if I remember that? I'm telling you, I watched you the whole time because
crazy.
I looked up to you as my
that's
mentor when it came to doing anything music. Yeah. So of course I know about the Coca-Cola.
So I
beat.
remember they was like, yo, they put me in the studio and was like, yo, here's the Coca-Cola beat, and they was like, yo, you got to write something to it. And I did a song to it or whatever. I don't know what happened to that joint. You know what I'm saying? It was out of my hands. I was just there for the time doing what they asked me to do.
Right.
But I do remember that, and I not to big myself up, but I kind of killed that though.
Yeah. That was major. I remember you brought that back down to Miss Gregory crib. We was out there bumping that beat, man. Come on, man. So that was crazy. That was real crazy. So upon your return from New York, what was it like when you came back to Kentucky, and were you inspired to give 100% to music?
Yeah, definitely. So when I came back to Kentucky, because you got to think I was in New York from maybe I was on and off maybe 4.5 years, something like that.
Yeah.
So coming back to Kentucky, the first thing I did was move to Louisville, and to me, it was like everything was super slow motion.
Yeah, because you've been in New York this whole time, seeing it.
I didn't even realize how fast I was moving in New York. So it's wild because I remember when I moved to Louisville, I noticed that nobody sold mixtapes. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not even trying to credit myself as like this first person who did that. But I do remember calling my partner in New York and like, yo, send me go to Jamaica Ave, give me the 3 for $20, give me the DJ Clue, the Funk Master, whatever, send it to me, and then I would burn them CDs and I would just ride around in Louisville and sell them.
All day, just to pay my rent. You remember the dude used to have the little setup you were in Louisville, but the dude used to have the setup in front of Cisco. He used to start selling the mixtapes in front of the Cisco where Raleigh sit. He used to be Cisco.
I don't remember.
And he used to sell CDs out there. Man, you know how many times we went out there to sell CDs to get gas to go to Louisville to grab you, to go to Frankfort to record.
Good ass memory.
Yeah,
I don't even remember that.
Man, we used to do that all the time.